Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Flippin the Script. My name is Amelia Acosta-Powell. I serve as the Associate Artistic Director here at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. And I am so thrilled to be here tonight with Laurie Hiler, the Reps Volunteer Board President. Hi, Laurie.
Hey, Amelia. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. I'm doing all right. Thank you so much for having me tonight.
It's our pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Before we dive in, I just wanted to take a brief moment to acknowledge that we are experiencing a tremendous loss in the Rep family this week. On Monday, the Rep's former artistic director, Stephen Wolf, who was a multi-decade leader of the Rep family, of theater in St. Louis and of theater, of the American theater nationally, passed away. And we will never forget Steve's legacy. There is no Repertory Theater of St. Louis without Steve Wolf. And so I know it's a sad week, but it's also a week where we are treasuring our memories of Steve. So thank you for coming on tonight, Laurie, and for being a part of this moment.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for talking about Steve, because he was just such a huge part of the Rep Theater. And I think so many people have so many wonderful memories of him over the years and everything that he did to build it to where we are today. So thank you for mentioning him.
Absolutely. I feel really grateful to be a part of this incredible organization that he built and that you and I get to work together to continue the legacy.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we will dive in. I'd love to just start by asking you to introduce yourself, who you are and what you do here at the Rep, how long you've been affiliated, and then maybe a fun fact about you.
Okay. I'm Laurie Hiler, and I'm currently the president for the Rep Volunteer Board. I have been associated with the Rep for about 15 to 20 years. I've been a season ticket holder for a long period of time. I was also a member of the full Rep board for about 8 years. And so really have enjoyed, getting to get involved with the Rep Theater and also just attending the Rep as a season ticket holder all these years. Something you probably don't know about me, in my former life, working life, I was in barge transportation, and I had my own barge transportation firm for about 12 years. I ended my career with a large grain exporting company and retired from them full time. And I still work part-time with them in leadership development for women. So those are probably some things about me you don't know.
Awesome. I think it's one of the things that's so cool about the Reps family, that we have people with so many expertises and backgrounds that can contribute to us being not just a theater company, but an organization of service to all kinds of people. Yes.
And just, finding out about people's diverse backgrounds, I think is always so interesting. So thank you for asking me that.
Absolutely. Thank you. A lot of people probably don't know what the Reps Volunteer Board is. Would you tell us what the Volunteer Board does and how you all support the Rep?
Oh, absolutely. What the Rep Volunteer Board does is we're a group of people who are very passionate and very dedicated towards making the Rep and helping them in any way that we can be a better organization through volunteering. So with COVID, it kind of restricted a little bit what we could do, because most of what our activities are in person. But over the last year, you might have received a phone call from us thanking you for being a patron, for being a supporter. You might have received a postcard around Thanksgiving. We did all that. Also, recently, if you participated in Rep Reads, we worked with that. If you have children that are going to the camp this summer, we're working with that. So those are some of the things we've been able to do, even with the restrictions with COVID. But to be honest about, we're super looking forward to live theater coming back so that we can go back and help the Rep in any way that we can, both in person and as ambassadors.
Absolutely. And I just want to say that was a very humble description. I want to make sure that viewers know the Reps work really would not be possible without the work of the Volunteer Board. The Reps Volunteer Board is an engine that drives so many great initiatives at the Rep, from office rescue who stuff envelopes and facilitate our communications, to folks who usher at the theater, who are greeting people and helping them find their seats, to really major lifts of putting on big events like our winter Imaginary Theater Company holiday performances and more. So thank you for your leadership as volunteer board president. Thank you to all of the volunteers that you work with for the invaluable work, without which we just simply wouldn't be the same theater.
Thank you so much. And I have to say, the volunteers that we have are so dedicated to the rep. I mean, it's just amazing the time and energy that they commit to making the rep work. So thank you.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful group of people too, with just lovely energy, beautiful smiles, incredible jewelry collections.
Yes, incredible jewelry collections. You are absolutely right.
I'm just looking at your gorgeous necklace there, and I was thinking the volunteer board really is full of people with impeccable taste.
The good news is, as you get older, you have lots more jewelry. So that's one of the benefits of getting older. I always tell my kids, you just have a lot more jewelry.
Oh, that worries me because I already have a lot.
Trust me, it only grows.
I trust you.
Yeah.
Well, of course, in the theater, we are storytellers. We love a good origin story. Tell me about how you got interested in the arts and what led to your path to becoming the volunteer board president.
Well, thank you. I got interested in theater in high school. And so like a lot of 18-year-olds, I said, okay, theater and voice, I'm going for it in college. So I started out, but after about a semester or two, I kind of decided that talent and desire and love of the theater don't always match up. And I actually had to have a final in opera where I sang opera in front of a group of people, and I said, that's it. So I quickly switched over to economics and said, okay, I think I found my second passion here. But that's how I got interested in theater, and never really lost the love of theater. I just had to support myself some other way. So then as I said, I've been a season ticket holder here for probably 15 to 20 years and have been involved in the arts and a couple other boards as well as the rep, and just love the arts. So a few years ago, after I started with the rep volunteer board, which again, you mentioned, it's just amazing the energy that those women have and the commitment and passion they have for the rep. And so when they asked me to be their president, I was just honored to do that. So that's kind of a quick and dirty how I got from saying opera singing is not for me to being president of the board.
Wow, that is quite the leap from singing opera to never mind, I'll major in econ.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny story too, because the long and short of that one is I had to pick another major. And so they kind of assigned me to a guy that was in the political science economics department. And so I went and sat in his office for the first time and met him. And above his desk, he had this huge picture of Karl Marx. And I said, well, who's that? And he said, well, that's Karl Marx. Don't know anything about Karl Marx. I said, no, don't know anything about him. So for the next half hour, he goes through the whole thing about Karl Marx, goes through capitalism, the whole thing. By the time we were done, I was an economics major. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of switching from one to the other. But it turned out I loved it. So I'm kind of glad that I ended up getting assigned to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The universe just always leads us where we're supposed to go, I suppose.
It always leads us where we're supposed to go. Yep. I'm not really a fan of Karl Marx, but it was really interesting just to hear him talk about how, different philosophies on how markets work and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, loved it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I similarly quickly realized that performing, I entered loving the arts and trying performing, and then realized that's really not not where my talents lie. Yeah. And tried to go another direction, but I got sucked back in on the non-performance side.
There you go. Well, for very different reasons. We both never lost our love of the arts. We just kind of took a different path on how to support yourself in and still be involved in the arts.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that's so important for people to know. It may feel like, if there are students who might be watching this, it might feel like if you change your major from theater, then you're gone from the theater, but it's really not true. And it's wonderful to hear your specific story of how you found a way to stay really engaged.
Yes. And I think that's really a good point to make, because I think a lot of people do start out thinking, oh, I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to be a theater major, or I'm going to be an opera singer, or whatever it is. And they quickly came to the same conclusion I did. Wait a minute, there's a lot more people talented than I ever was. But you don't have to have to leave that love of the theater. You just have to learn another way to kind of channel that passion. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Although I am highly dubious about this story that you're singing wasn't so good. So I hope there's a moment where we find you on the stage singing some opera, Laurie.
No. Although I think I can still sing that song. The last one I had to perform, I can still sing it under duress, but I won't do it. Trust me, I won't do it.
All right. Well, maybe there's a forum where we can see about that.
There you go.
Well, I would love to hear, you've been affiliated with the Rep for much longer than I, and one of my favorite things to hear about is people's favorite Rep memories, whether it's your favorite shows, favorite moments, favorite volunteer board events that you've been a part of. What are some of your favorite times at the Rep?
I think my all-time favorite memory of the Rep would be the production of $1 Million Quartet, and which is saying a lot for me because I'm not a musical person. I like serious drama, but I had seen $1 Million Quartet, I think in Chicago before I saw it here, but it was such an unusual production for the Rep, and it was just so cool. The energy in the room was just like, almost like magic, because people were jumping out of their seats. They were singing along and clapping. I mean, it was just like being at a concert, only you're at the Rep. So it was really, really cool. I think that's probably my absolute hands down favorite memory. Really loved it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love when there's that high energy of a show, and musicals are really strong at that. They really get people enraptured.
Yes, but to jump out of your seat and start singing, I mean, I think by the time we were at the last song, everybody was out of their seat and clapping and singing. It was just, I mean, it was really magical. It was just super. Yeah.
That's so really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a look to the past. I want to flip us to a look to the future. The Rep is, as you of course know, has recently reopened. We had a long intermission from live performances during the pandemic, and that was a really challenging year. But we are so thrilled. We just closed our first live production, and we've just announced our 21-22. Lost a year of my life. A 21-22 season that we're super excited about. What are you looking forward to at the Rep?
Well, in general, I'm just looking forward to actually being in the theater with people, because I think if you love theater, there's just nothing like that interaction between the audience and the actors. And you don't get that watching Netflix. You don't get it going to the movies, because if you've ever been on stage, it's hard to quantify what this feels like. But they're really, even though you know all your lines and you're going to go through everything you're going to do, every audience is different. They're just a little bit different. And sometimes things you say to one, they think is hilarious, and it may fall deadpan on the next group. So there really is kind of an interaction between the audience and the actors. And I really miss that. And then I miss the fact that, during intermission, people are talking about what they liked, what they didn't like, and they may talk about something you didn't even notice. Like maybe they're thinking, oh, that staging, I really didn't like it because of X or the lighting. And it's so that when you start the second act, you're like, oh, I didn't really notice that. And you kind of pay attention to something different. And then obviously at the end when people are talking about what they liked and disliked about a play and how two people can see exactly the same thing and somebody just loves it, the other guy's like, boy, that just fell flat for me. And you find out why. So it's really, I think it's just one of those things that people are still willing to discuss openly with each other as opposed to politics, which they won't do anymore. Just so many things people are very leery of talking about. But a play, I think people still feel like, my opinion, I'm more than willing to share it with you. So I just really miss that about theater.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that's something that's so magical about live theater is that element where anything can happen on stage, but also anything can happen in the house. And, we say this all the time. It feels a little cliche, but it's also true. The audience is a character in the performance. And when you're watching something, there's so much incredible performance available, of course, on TV and film as well. But the audience isn't a character in the same way. And you don't have that feeling of your ability to actually influence the story.
Yes, and you do. And you just don't realize it until you've been up on the stage or you've been in production like you have, but they do. And it just makes each production magical. That's, I think, why actors love to do what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just, I think having those social interactions like you're describing, I absolutely love standing in the lobby after a performance, hearing about what people thought absolutely about the show, but also just that memory that's created. I think I don't have a lot of specific memories. There's lots of films I love, but I don't necessarily have an emotional memory of sitting and watching the movie as opposed to, especially those of you who've been coming many years, maybe coming with friends or loved ones, bringing new generations into the theater, having your dinner at your favorite place, all of those elements that come together to make an event of it.
Yeah. And if you ever see some production somewhere that just takes your breath away, just takes your breath away, you never forget that in live theater. And you can go to a movie and say, oh yeah, I like the movie, but it's not that same where you're just like, oh my gosh, I can remember how that felt watching. It was just like electricity.
Yeah, absolutely. This was not on my pre-approved questions list, but do you happen to remember the first live performance you ever saw or the first one you remember when you were young?
I think it was The Crucible.
Wow. It's a mature one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as I said, I kind of like serious theater. Maybe that got me down that path. Yeah. But I think that was the first one that I saw. And I would have to say Arthur Miller to this day is probably my favorite playwright. And I was lucky enough to see Death of a Salesman on Broadway when Brian Dennehy was there. I was talking a little bit earlier about how you just feel that electricity. And to this day, I can remember how that felt to watch that play. He was just that good. And I honestly just can't ever remember that from watching a movie or Netflix or anything, but I can still remember how that felt to watch him. And it was just like electrifying. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've definitely have some incredibly powerful memories of Arthur Miller productions as well. There's something very truthful.
Yes.
Dark, but truthful.
Yeah. And I think that's why so much of his is so timeless, because each of us knows someone like the person, like the person that he's talking about. And we all recognize different aspects of probably of yourself, but also of people that you think, oh, that's how they are. That's how they feel. Yeah. So he has that really ability to just cut right through and go right to your heart.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the magical elements, right? Is that in watching live theater, we have just the right amount of distance to process experiences. It's very real. It's very live. It's in the room with you. So it's not the emotional distance of I'm watching this, but I'm also on my phone.
Yeah.
But it's just distant enough where it's not happening to you personally, where you actually have the space to process it and not get too overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. But occasionally you go to one where you just can't believe that that's a play. It's almost so real that you just, like I said, it just takes your breath away. Yeah. And if you're lucky enough to see one like that, it just you never forget. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That year, I think 3 out of the 4 actors won Tonys for that play. Yeah. So it was just like probably the best I've ever seen. Yeah, really good.
This is definitely highlighting how good Million Dollar Quartet must have been if that's your usual passion. Million Dollar Quartet is very different.
That's what I said. Musicals are usually not my top. I can't wait to go see that. But the Million Dollar Quartet really stuck with me. So, yeah. So, great production from the Rep.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I wanted to ask you, a lot of people watch this segment who are in all stages of their careers or engagements with us, and a lot of students do. So I'm curious what advice you might have if there are young people watching or people of any age, really, as to how people can get involved in supporting the arts.
Oh, great question. Great question, because I think, and I'm glad you're talking about all age groups, because I think a lot of times when they talk about supporting the arts, people automatically think of money. And oh my gosh, yes, we all need money. And especially after this past year, every arts organization would love to have money. But that's very hard for people that are very young because they don't have that. But they have, they always talk about time or treasure. And truly, young people have that energy and they have that passion for the arts. And to use them as volunteers is so wonderful because they just inject that energy into the room. And on the flip side, as you get older, it's easy just to write that check and say, well, I've already donated, to the Rep and I'm a donor. But there's nothing like the same feeling you get when you give your time. And when you give your time and you're able to work with people who are just passionate about the arts and passionate about the Rep or whatever other arts organization you're passionate about, you get that energy. And at the end of the day, you come back and you think, wow, I'm really the one that benefited from this. Granted, the Rep got my time, but I'm really the one that's benefiting here. And I'm meeting these amazing people. So, either way, I don't want to discourage at all people from not donating money, but never forget that there are so many ways, whether you're younger, older, or in between, to donate your time. And as president of the volunteer board, I'll put my pitch in here. We have many different things that we would love to have you do. So please contact myself, contact Amelia, operator standing by. We would love to have you join us. So there.
Absolutely. Agreed. We can drop this in the chat or in the comments, but if you want to get involved with the Reps Volunteer Board and you don't know how, email us at mail@repstl.org and we will connect you.
Yes.
There's all kinds of opportunities. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say, I alluded to it earlier. My absolute favorite activity that I see the volunteer board leading is the holiday Imaginary Theater Company performances.
Yes.
I see the incredible volunteer board members in these fun, fantastical costumes.
Yep.
It brings such a smile to my face.
Yep. And, if you like to face paint, if you like, lots of different things to do. So it's just wonderful. That activity in particular, if you like to work with kids, is just fabulous. It's really, really fun. But yes. So thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, yeah. I treasure it. I can't wait till we can have that in person.
I'll have a costume for you.
Again. Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm always game for a costume.
Cool. We'd love to have you.
Great. Well, as you know, we like to do a fun segment at the end of these Flippin' the Script episodes called Fun Facts in 60 Seconds.
Okay.
Are you ready for a lightning round?
I'm ready for my lightning round. I'm just a little slow, so but yes.
It's okay. There's no prizes, nor is there any penalty. So it's just
okay. Good.
Okay, I'm putting 1 minute on the clock.
Okay.
What is your favorite season?
The fall.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
What's the last book you read?
The Namesake by, I don't think I'm pronouncing her name right. Umba Lahari? Lahari? I think is how you pronounce her last name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your favorite vacation spot?
San Diego.
And your favorite food?
Indian food.
Newspapers or magazines?
Newspapers.
Morning person or night owl?
Night owl.
Favorite pizza topping?
Black olives.
Puppies or kittens?
I'll go with puppies.
Favorite show to binge watch?
Oh, The Crown.
Who's your favorite artist, visual artist?
Matisse.
What was the last play you saw?
Melina's Tale. The bell almost went off.
Indeed. Laurie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's so great to get to know you a little bit more. I want to say thank you again for your leadership on the Reps Volunteer Board and for your many, many years of dedication to the Rep. I want to highlight for anyone watching, if you feel the way that Laurie feels and you're excited to get back in to see live performance, the Rep is coming back with a beautiful 6-play season starting September with a world premiere musical, Dreaming Zenzile, and it's an incredible lineup. Tickets are at repstl.org or call our box office. We will be bringing that magical feeling and energy back, so please join us. Laurie, thank you again.
Oh, thank you so much for having me tonight. I really enjoyed it.
Absolute pleasure. We will see you all with another episode of Flippin' the Script in a couple of weeks. And until then, stay safe, and we hope to see you at the theater.
See you soon.